Backwards compatibility is a nice feature that lets you play older games from previous generations on your current console. It's something that no gamer in their right mind would turn down given the option. But so far this generation, it's only Microsoft on the Xbox that's paid any attention to it.
The Xbox One features backwards compatibility with many games from the previous generation. There's now more than 400 Xbox 360 games available for the Xbox One, in fact. Phil Spencer, Executive Vice President of Xbox, has explained this week why Microsoft thinks backwards compatibility is so important to not only the gamers but the actual companies that provide it. Backwards compatibility is now an inbuilt addition to the Xbox One. If you own select Xbox 360 games, they will work when you pop the disc in to your newer console. Hell, even the free digital games that Microsoft gives away every month with Xbox Gold for the Xbox 360 will work on the Xbox One as well. Not only that, Microsoft has plans that will see the original Xbox games catalogue incorporated into the system soon. That's right, games you've had on your shelf since 2002 will work on the Xbox One. And Phil Spencer has shared why exactly it is that this part of the Xbox One gaming experience is so important for this generation of gamers.
Speaking to Wired, Spencer said how he sees games as an art form, not a service then.
I guess not.
Console games can get lost when hardware generations go away. It can become more challenging to play the games of our past. There's something to be learned from experiencing what I played as a kid. There's good business there for the content owners, but as players, it's nice to be able to understand how our art form has progressed. Now, obviously backwards compatibility is nothing new, with the Xbox 360 including that function since its 2005 launch. Even Sony has used it with the PlayStation 2 and, for early models at least, the PlayStation 3 console playing legacy games. Within current gen consoles, however, it almost seemed like a lost art form, with neither the PlayStation 4 or Xbox One touting it as a feature upon release. Since 2015, however, Microsoft has been adding more and more legacy games to the Xbox One's backward catalogue.
There is the argument that Microsoft is spending too much time launching a new games console while focusing on old games. Some gamers also question decisions like Microsoft's new HD remake of Voodoo Vince, a 14-year-old game that no one remembers, apart from those of you that are typing up comments as I say this. However, some of the Xbox games of old are considered some of the best games of the new millennium, including the Forza racing games, Halo, and original Xbox gem Psychonauts. Of course, all of this nostalgia is good fun and all, but is Big Phil right? Are these works of art that need to be preserved, and is it really good for business to let gamers go back and play old games again? So these are the latest executive comments that we've got on backwards compatibility, and it's always interesting reading because it's kind of a weird topic. It's not as straightforward as selling games to people, it's letting people play older games that they already own. So it's quite a weird topic, but from a corporate point of view, but it's something that I think a lot of gamers do care about.
Also, this is one of the advantages that you've got buying the Xbox One over the PS4 right now. I think it's one of its unique selling points. It's like one of the reasons why you might go for Xbox over PS4. And I think it makes sense for Microsoft or an Xbox to be focusing on this feature because their focus right now is to get more people buying their consoles, right? And with this being their biggest selling point, I guess, with so many people in the previous generation, I mean, they were in the lead, right? Whereas this generation, they've lost ground to PlayStation 4, but with so many people, with so many games at home, original Xbox games, how can they harness that value? People can use all those games on playing. So I think it makes great sense for Microsoft and Xbox to be adding value to the people purchasing their Xbox Ones by offering this service.
So with a game like Red Dead Redemption 2 coming out, it's not on PC, so you can still play on PC. Your only option is to play it on last gen or play it on the Xbox One via backwards compatibility. I don't know if it's available on PlayStation now because I'm not even remotely interested in entertaining the fact that it's a subscription model that is streamed into my living room that I have to pay £12.99 a month to do. No, I'm not even going to check if it's there, okay? But Xbox One gamers can just grab it from their shelf, stick it in the Xbox One, fire it up, and play as John Marston again in preparation for Red Dead Redemption 2. There's 400 of these games at least that they can do that with, and that's a very strong selling point, and it is definitely one of the big aces that Microsoft and Xbox has over Sony at this point.
So Xbox thinks backwards compatibility is not only a good idea, but one that's good for business. Contrast this with Sony's attitude towards backwards compatibility. The PS4 currently has no backwards compatible games. The only option for gamers is either to buy a limited selection of PlayStation classics from the PSN store or subscribe subscribe to PlayStation Now, which is shite.
In an interview with Time magazine earlier this year, PlayStation games development boss Sean Layden said, "When we've dabbled with backwards compatibility, I can say it is one of those features that is much requested, but not actually used much. So Sony argues that people want it, but they don't actually use it." Well then who's right? Xbox for thinking it's good for business and important to preserve the art form, or Sean Layden, who sounds like he knows what we want better than we do? It's a bit of a loaded question for you there. I think that Sony attitude is corporate defensiveness, so it's like, oh, you don't really want backwards compatibility. If you did, we'd give it to you. But,
you think you want it, but we know better.
So once again, Xbox are in that position where they can say nice things and say positive things and seem like the good guy because they are doing good things. They are doing the positive thing in response to that initial Xbox One launch when they're still clawing up ground. And they've been great. They've been great for a long time now. They've been doing some cool stuff. Backwards compatibility is flying the flag for them, I think, of like consumer friendliness, of just being cool to your customers and letting them do something that you could quite easily stop them from doing for no reason.
I mean, strategy-wise, I don't think it makes sense for PlayStation 4 to be focusing on backwards compatibility when they've got so many exclusive games. Those exclusive games is what sells the consoles for PlayStation 4, and then it's such a commanding lead in the market that they'll make loads of money. They'll attract loads of developers on their platform because they can offer more install base, or bigger install base than Xbox and Microsoft can. So they've got no problem attracting developers, and they've got no problem selling their games because so many people have got their consoles. So they're focusing on games, they're investing heavily on exclusive games, and it makes sense for PlayStation. Whereas Microsoft, it's the opposite. They don't have that draw for the developers, and they don't have that install base. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to sell more consoles rather than sell games. They're using this backwards compatible PR line to try and achieve that.
Phil Spencer was mainly focusing on, which was preserving the art form. I think that's a really interesting point, just to kind of round all this off. Gaming is quite unique. Like the technology is so fast moving that things become difficult to experience if they've been out for like 20 years. It's quite difficult to actually get to play that thing again, and they're not really preserved in museums or anything like that, and widely anyway, and it's not like music or movies, which are still kind of recorded heavily and still readily available and easily viewable online. Gaming is not like that. Games it's easy for games to get lost in the ether, and that flipping Voodoo Vince or whatever, like, what is that? But it's getting a HD remaster, so at least that's one that's been cherry picked out of all those games on the original Xbox. That's getting remastered, so that does kind of live on. But backwards compatibility is a great way of just kind of casting out a wide net and just making sure that all of those games are still playable to a huge amount of people. I think that is important. I think he's right. It is important to maintain that kind of art form.
Where do you stand on backwards compatibility? Does backwards compatibility make you more likely to buy a console? Let us know down in the comments below. Like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you're new around here. There's another video on the screen for you to watch right now. Check us out on Patreon if you want to support the channel, and we'll see you again in the next video. Until then, bye for now.